Hello all, welcome to Paritranaya. In this class, we shall begin with the discussion of an important topic of polity, that is Parliament. So Parliament is a very important topic from exam point of view. The topic is a bit vast, but still there are few questions every year which appear from this topic, especially in prelims. So here we shall begin with the articles which deal with Parliament. Article number 79 to 122, they deal with Parliament. Do we need to memorize all these articles from 79 to 122? Not important. There are few articles whom we need to memorize. So as and when we encounter those articles, so I'll be highlighting that those are the articles important and we have to memorize them. But for time being, these articles are not important. Next question arises, what is Parliament? So in order to understand this polity properly, first the best strategy would be to begin with Parliament. Because when we begin with Parliament, we come across entities which are close to our heart or which we encountered in our day-to-day life. We have always heard about MPs, MLAs, all those things, right? So it is it would be very much wise to start with Parliament. So first, what is Parliament? Parliament consists of Lok Sabha, Parliament consists of Rajya Sabha and President. Now suppose if a question is posed, so what is Parliament? What does Parliament consist of? At a superficial level, we need to know that Parliament consists of three entities, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President. These three entities together, we call them as Parliament. Next. So now next, let us see the composition of Rajya Sabha and the composition of Lok Sabha. Means what exactly is Rajya Sabha and what exactly is Lok Sabha. So we have heard about it. Rajya Sabha, so there are two houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, among them Rajya Sabha. So the Rajya Sabha's maximum strength has been fixed at 250. Maximum strength is 250. So among these 250, 238 will be elected and 12 will be nominated. 12 will be nominated. This is the maximum strength. But the present strength is 245. 245. So 5 seats are kept in the form of a buffer. So the present strength is 245. So in this 245, 233, they are elected. Next, 12 are nominated. So when we say elected here, there are two types of election. One is direct election, another one is indirect election. So how are the members of Rajya Sabha elected? Whether they are directly elected or indirectly elected? They are indirectly elected. We call it as directly elected when people of India, when citizens of India, they participate in the election process. When it comes to electing members of Rajya Sabha, the people of India directly, they do not participate. Who else will participate in the election? We shall see later on. But here it is through indirect election. Indirect election. It's not direct election. Next, nominated. So who will nominate and who all will be nominated? What are the qualifications required? What are the criteria required? We shall see later on. Next, fourth schedule is very important. So we know that in our constitution, we have many articles, and apart from the articles and the various parts, we have 12 schedules. So schedule 1, schedule 2, and so on. So we have schedule 4, and so on, schedule 12. So already we have discussed about the schedules. So please go back to that video and watch about the different schedules that we have discussed. Now we shall directly come to fourth schedule, schedule 4. So what does schedule 4 consist of? Schedule 4, it gives information about the representation in Rajya Sabha of different states. For example, in Karnataka, we have many states, right? We have close to 28 states. So let us assume this is Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab. I just took some examples. So fourth schedule indicates how many people of Karnataka are represented in Rajya Sabha. How many people of Uttar Pradesh are represented in Rajya Sabha. Okay. So here exactly the representation of every state is not important. So highest would be important. So the highest representation in Rajya Sabha will be representation from Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so that those numbers are also not important. And also of your native state. So I belong to Karnataka. From Karnataka, 12 members are represented in what? Rajya Sabha. So that information would be sufficient. Highest is Uttar Pradesh. So your native state, accordingly, my states it is 12. So accordingly, it will change, and your states will be different. So that is indicated by 4th schedule. Next, representation of states. Now, when it comes to India, there are two different types of territories. One are states, another one we call it as union territories. Union territories. So representation of states. I already mentioned that 12. I'll take in Karnataka's example. So 12 members of Karnataka are being represented in Rajya Sabha. Okay. So this is our Rajya Sabha, and 12 members from Karnataka will go to Rajya Sabha. But who will elect these 12 members? Who will elect these 12 members? Elect by elected MLAs. So in Karnataka, we have 224 MLAs. Okay. So again, in detail about the MLAs we have discussed in a separate video. So you can just refer to that video. So 200 elected MLAs we have in Karnataka. So these 224 MLAs, they will elect 12 members to Rajya Sabha. Okay. Rajya Sabha. So what is proportional representation? We already made a video on proportional representation. So refer that video in order to get an understanding about proportional representation. So these 12 members of Rajya Sabha from Karnataka, they have been elected by 224 MLAs of Karnataka. Similarly, the MLAs of respective states will elect the representatives of their state into Rajya Sabha. Okay. For example, if I take UP, so Uttar Pradesh will elect its Rajya Sabha MPs. Next, single transferable vote. So what is single transferable vote and proportional representation? We have discussed in a separate video. So look into it. So not important. We need not have a clear understanding about what is proportional representation and single transferable vote. So at the superficial, we need to know that the members of Rajya Sabha who have been elected by the MLAs, they have been elected based on the system of proportional representation and based on single transferable vote. Okay. Even if the confusion prevails, just watch that previous video. Next, seats allocation to states. So as we discussed, the seats allocation to states, it is not fixed, it varies. For example, Karnataka, it is 12. Now, which state has the highest? Uttar Pradesh has the highest, that is 31. Next, which state has the lowest? So I have mentioned just one example, Tripura. There are other states as well which have a low representation. So Tripura has representation in Rajya Sabha of just one seat. Okay, highest and lowest. Next, representation of union territory. Next question is whether union territories are represented in Rajya Sabha. So which are union territories? It may be Delhi. So Delhi is not called as exactly union territory, it is called as capital territory. Delhi, Puducherry, Lakshadweep. So next, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So all these are our union territories. So whether there is a representation of union territories in Rajya Sabha, yes, it is there. Okay. Representation of union territories also there in the Rajya Sabha. So how are the members of the union territories elected? They are also indirectly elected by electoral college specified, specially constituted. So here it is very important, because if you look into the union territories, only Delhi has a legislative assembly. It means Delhi has MLAs. Similarly, Puducherry has legislative assembly. That is, Puducherry has MLAs. But in other union territories, we do not have MLAs. That's why when we go for indirect election, who will participate in the election? This is a question mark. So here, who will participate? Electoral college specially constituted by what? President. So for time being, we shall not worry. This is not that much important. What is important is whether union territories are represented in the Rajya Sabha or not. Yes, they are represented. Okay. So how are they elected? They are also indirectly elected by electoral college specially constituted for that purpose. Next, the representation of union territory is also through proportional representation, single transferable vote, and also we discussed that only Delhi and Puducherry has what? Legislative assemblies. Other union territories, they do not have legislative assemblies. Next, nominated members. We saw that in case of Rajya Sabha, there are 12 members who are nominated But when we are nominating, whom we'll nominate? A person who has a special knowledge, okay, or he is good at some arts or literature, science and social service. So such people will be nominated members. Example, our sports person Sachin Tendulkar. So he was member of Rajya Sabha. So these eminent personalities who are good in other fields like art, literature, science, and other social service. So it will be difficult for them to contest in an election and get into Rajya Sabha. That's why there is a provision that certain section of the society has to be represented in Rajya Sabha. That is why we have a provision of nomination. So 12 nominated members. So this was about composition of Rajya Sabha. Next we shall discuss about the composition of Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha. So here, similar to Rajya Sabha, in Lok Sabha, the maximum strength has been fixed at 552. So here 530 will be from states, 20 will be from union territories, and next 2 will be Anglo-Indian community. Anglo-Indian community. This is the maximum strength. But what is the present strength? Present strength is 545. So that 7 seats are buffer seats. Okay, buffer seats. Now what is the present strength? 545. So among these 545, 530 are from states, 13 from union territories. And recently the provision for Anglo-Indian community has been removed. So presently the strength will come down to 543. Next, in Lok Sabha, we have representation of states, we have representation of union territories. Until now, we also had representation of Anglo-Indians. Okay, Anglo-Indians. Next, representation of states. How are states represented? Again, here also, representatives from each state, they are different. It is not fixed. For example, if I again take an example, now from Karnataka, we have 28 members. From Uttar Pradesh, we have 80 members. There are 80 representatives from Uttar Pradesh in Lok Sabha. There are 28 representatives from Karnataka in Lok Sabha. Again, these different numbers based on population. Okay. So how are these members elected? They are elected by direct election. In case of Rajya Sabha, we saw that the members were elected indirectly, but here the members are elected directly. Next, territorial constituencies. If you look any state, for example, if you take Uttar Pradesh, okay, Uttar Pradesh is a very big state. So we have many constituencies. We'll be having many constituencies. So every constituency will be having one representative. So totally we have 80 such constituencies in Uttar Pradesh and 28 such constituencies in Karnataka. So how these constituencies are drawn, we shall see later on. Okay, we shall see later on. Next, universal adult franchise. It means who all will participate in the election, or who all can vote. All the people above the 18 years and whose name is there in the electoral roll, they can participate in voting. They can vote. Next, representation of union territories. So Parliament is empowered to enact such act, and already Parliament has enacted Union Territory Act. Okay. So here representatives of union territories is also through direct election. Okay. So union territory, again, for example, Delhi, Puducherry, or Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So all have representatives in Lok Sabha, and how are they elected? Directly elected. So the people of these union territories will participate in the election of the members. Next, nominated members. Yes, until now we had this provision, but now this provision has been removed. So nominated members were Anglo-Indian community members. Next, system of election to Lok Sabha. So every state will be divided into territorial constituencies. I'll take Karnataka as an example. So roughly it may not appear like Karnataka, but Karnataka, it has what? Many constituencies. So how many constituencies we have? Totally 28 constituencies. Okay. So how these every state has this. Now similarly, if I take UP, we have 80 constituencies. In Karnataka, we have 28. In Uttar Pradesh, we have 80 constituencies. So how will they decide the number of seats allotted? Number of seats allotted to Karnataka is 28 and to Uttar Pradesh is 80. So how is that? It is governed by this formula. Number of seats allotted to state X. Okay, let us assume Karnataka, population of that state. Let us assume number of seats allotted to Karnataka is 28 divided by population of Karnataka 6 crore. Okay, approximately. Next, similarly, if you take Uttar Pradesh 80, next divided by population of Uttar Pradesh, I don't know exactly. So somewhere let us assume around 20 crore. Okay, 20 crore. So whatever the value you get, it should be almost same. Close to, it should be almost same. So based on such formula, the seats are distributed among the various states. So 28 seats have been given to Karnataka and 80 seats have been given to Uttar Pradesh, and similarly different number of seats have been allotted to different states. Okay. So this formula exactly, it's not important. Next, there are certain exceptions as well. What is that? If there is a less than 6 million population, then there is some exception as well. Okay, exception laws. Well, next, territorial constituencies division such that now within Karnataka there are 28 states, right? So how that demarcation has to be done? Population of each constituency divided by number of seats allotted to a constituency. So I considered an example of Bagalkot itself. So here, so population of each constituency. Let us assume Bagalkot population is 5 lakh. So seats allotted to it is what? Number of seats allotted to Bagalkot? 1. Okay. So in this fashion, it should remain same throughout the Karnataka state. So in this fashion, in Bagalkot we have got what? 28 constituencies. Again, this formula is not important. Next, readjustment after each census. So for every 10 years we go for census. So whenever we go for census, after that there will be readjustment of the constituencies and all. Next, there is a reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. In case of Rajya Sabha, there is no reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, but in case of Lok Sabha, we have reservation of seats for Lok Sabha for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Okay, scheduled tribe. Next, duration of 2 houses, very important. So Rajya Sabha is the permanent house. It means 245 members. All of them, they will not retire at the same time. Then how many members will retire? 1/3 member will retire for every 2 years. Okay, 1/3 member will retire. So 1/3 of 245, whatever value we get. So those many members will retire for every 2 years, and those seats will be filled again by election, by that election. So re-election and nomination. So a person who has become a member of Rajya Sabha, can he be re-elected? Yes, he can be re-elected any number of times, unlimited. A person who has been nominated, can he be re-nominated again? Yes, he can be re-nominated any number of times. There is no such restriction. Next, Lok Sabha. So Lok Sabha is not permanent. It gets dissolved. So what is it dissolved? It means we have 545 members in Lok Sabha, or 543 now, presently 543. So when I say dissolve, all the 543 members will lose the membership of Lok Sabha. In order to become members of Lok Sabha, again they have to participate in the election, they have to win. Then itself they can become members of Lok Sabha. So when all the 543 members of Lok Sabha, they lose their membership, that process itself is called as dissolution. So when does it happen? After every 5 years, all the members of Lok Sabha will lose their membership. And if at all they want to come to Lok Sabha again they have to contest in the election and they have to win. Next, to calculate this 5 years, so from when will we start? After the election, when the Lok Sabha meets for the very first time, from that day itself, that 5 years period, the counting will start. Okay, counting will start. So first meeting after the general elections. So what is general election? The election which is conducted to elect representatives of Lok Sabha, that we call it as general election. So after the general election, when we go for first meeting, from the day of that first meeting, we calculate the 5-year period. Okay, 5-year period. Next. So we saw that automatic dissolution. After 5 years, all the members will lose their membership of Lok Sabha. But are there any chances of losing the members in between? For example, I'll start from this period. So this is 5-year period, 5 years. So 1 year, 2, 3, 4. At the end of 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4, 5. So are there any chances that in between itself Lok Sabha may get dissolved? Yes, there are chances. So what are those chances and all, or when are those probabilities possible? We shall be discussing later on, but probabilities is there. So who is authorized to dissolve? President is authorized to dissolve Lok Sabha. It means president can cancel the membership of all the Lok Sabha members, but it is not his discretion. Whenever he wishes, he cannot do it. He can only do with the help of, with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. But for time being, don't get confused with it. We shall see later on. Okay. So one thing that we need to remember here is who can dissolve Lok Sabha? President can dissolve Lok Sabha. For time being, you just understand this much. Later on, we shall see about the details. Okay. So when president dissolves Lok Sabha in a proper manner, okay, that cannot be challenged in court. Means nobody can file a case in the court saying that the president has took a wrong decision of dissolving the Lok Sabha. So such kind of cases cannot be filed in the Lok Sabha. Very important. In the court, either it may be High Court or Supreme Court. Okay. Next, national emergency. So as I mentioned, normally the life of Lok Sabha will be 5 years. At the end of 5 years, Lok Sabha will be dissolved. The members of Lok Sabha will will lose their membership. This is normal time. There are some times we call them as emergency situations. So what is that emergency? We have a separate topic for it. So we'll be discussing in detail when we start discussing about the topic called as emergency. So during emergency, what happens? We can extend the life of Lok Sabha. By how many years? We can extend 1 year at a time. It means normally it will end after 5 years, but when we extend it by another year, then its term will become 6 years. Okay, 6 years. So in this way, we can extend the life of Lok Sabha any length of time. Okay, any length of time by law of parliament. So what is law of parliament and how will they extend? All these things we'll be discussing in later when we start discussing about national emergency. For time being, just assume that in case of emergency conditions, we can extend the life of Lok Sabha by 1 year. How? What is the method involved? By passing with the help of a law of a parliament. Okay. How many times we can extend? Any number of times. Okay. Any number of times. Next, ceases to operate. Extension not beyond 6 months. Okay. So when we start discussing about emergency, you'll get a clear picture. Now for time being, this much information would be sufficient. Okay. So Lok Sabha gets dissolved after 5 years. Next, membership of parliament. Now we saw about the composition of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. How many members are there in Rajya Sabha, how they get elected, how many members are there in Lok Sabha, how they get elected. The next question is, what are the qualifications required to become a member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha? Okay. Next, to become member of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, he should be a citizen of India. It's very much obvious. Next, a person who wants to get elected to either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, he should take an oath. Okay, so this oath is mentioned in 3rd schedule. So we have already seen, right? Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3, Schedule 4 and so on. So Schedule 4 what deals with the representation of Rajya Sabha seats of different states. Schedule 3 deals with the oath. So do we need to know about the exact oath? Do we need to memorize the oath for the examination? No, not important. Okay, so while they are filing their nomination papers, they have to take the oath. They have to take the oath. Next, in order to become member of Rajya Sabha, a person should have attended at least 30 years, and in order to become member of Lok Sabha, he should have attended at least 25 years. Okay, very important. Rajya Sabha 30 years, Lok Sabha 25 years. Next, so all these qualifications, whether they have been mentioned in the constitution? No, they have not been mentioned in the constitution. So they have been prescribed by parliament. It means parliament has passed a law, and the name of that law is Representation of People Act. So RPA indicates Representation of People Act. So this act was enacted in 1951, hence Representation of People Act 1951. So this law prescribes these qualifications. Okay. Next, apart from this, there are other requirements as well. So what are those requirements? He should be registered as an elector. So registered as an elector means his name should appear in the electoral roll. Okay, electoral roll in any parliamentary constituency. For example, we have many parliamentary constituencies. Every state has parliamentary constituencies. In Karnataka, we have 28 parliamentary constituencies. In Uttar Pradesh, we have 80 parliamentary constituencies. So he should be registered as an elector. he should be eligible to vote in any of the parliamentary constituencies. Let us consider the example of Karnataka itself. In Karnataka, in Bagalkot, if a person is eligible to vote, he should be, if his name is present in the electoral roll and he also satisfies the above conditions, then he can contest in an election. Next, Lok Sabha other states. Now next my question is, a person belongs to Karnataka. Okay, his name appears in the electoral roll of a parliamentary constituency in Karnataka. So again, let us call this person as A. Can this person A contest in any of the parliamentary constituencies in Uttar Pradesh? So that is the question. Yes, definitely. A person from registered in the electoral roll of one parliamentary constituency in a particular state can contest in another state. An example would be our Prime Minister. Okay, our Prime Minister basically he is from Gujarat, but he has contested in Uttar Pradesh. So possibility is there. Next, Rajya Sabha other states. So can a person belonging to one state get represented in Rajya Sabha from another state? Yes, this possibility is also there. So an example would be again Nirmala Sitharaman, our finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman. She is from other state, but she is being represented in Rajya Sabha through Karnataka. So in Rajya Sabha also it is possible. Next, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, any state registered. Now for example, a person who belongs to scheduled caste, okay, scheduled caste in the state of Karnataka. So can he contest for a reserved constituency in Uttar Pradesh? Now let us assume A is a scheduled caste member. So we know that in Lok Sabha election we have reservation. So can he contest a reserved seat in Uttar Pradesh? This person A, yes, he can contest. He can contest. A person who is who belongs to scheduled caste or scheduled tribe in one particular state can contest for a reserved seat in another state. So this possibility is there. Can he go for general contest? Yes, he can go for general contest. General contest in the sense, so in the same state, a scheduled caste member can contest for a constituency where there is no reservation. Similarly, in the same state as well as in other state. So this possibility is also there. Okay, is there. Next, disqualifications. So whether a person once appointed as a Lok Sabha member or a Rajya Sabha member, can he be disqualified? Yes, he can be disqualified, and there are various grounds of disqualification. So there are some grounds which have been mentioned in the constitution itself. So they are called as constitutional provisions. Next, there are some grounds which have been mentioned in Representation of People Act. Okay, People Act. So let us look into all of them. So constitutional provisions. A person who is holding an office of profit, is disqualified to contest in elections, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So what is this office of profit? There is no definition. There is no definition of the meaning called as office of profit in the Constitution. Okay, in the Constitution. So don't worry much about what exactly is office of profit. For time being, just assume that a person who is holding an office of profit is not eligible to contest in an election of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. And there is no definition of office of profit in the Constitution. And there are certain exceptions. For example, if a person is a minister, so can he contest in an election? Yes, he can contest in an election. So if he is a minister, that position is not considered as office of profit. Suppose if the ministerial position is considered as office of profit, then a minister will be debarred from contesting in an election. Okay, so that's why a minister, if he is a minister, then he can participate in the election. Okay, he can contest in the election. Okay, so office exempted by parliament. Okay, so minister he can contest in an election. Next, a person who is of unsound mind, whose mind is not functioning properly, he is not eligible to contest. So very obvious. Undischarged insolvent means a person who has a lot of debt and is unable to pay the debt on time. So such person is not eligible to contest in an election. So not a citizen, a person who is not a citizen of India is not eligible to contest in an election. A person who has acquired foreign state citizenship. For example, a person basically he had Indian citizenship, but later on he acquired the citizenship of other country. So in India, we do not have the provision of dual citizenship. Either you can have the citizenship of India or other country, but you cannot have both of them at the same time. So if you acquire the citizenship of other country, then automatically you will lose the Indian citizenship. In that case also, you are not what eligible to contest in an election. Next, allegiance to foreign state. So you are an Indian citizen, but you have allegiance, you love some other country. Okay, at that time, if you do not have allegiance to our country, but you have allegiance to foreign state, then also you are not eligible to contest in an election. And if you have been debarred by any law of parliament. So what is law of parliament and all, we shall see later on. But if you have been barred by any law of parliament, then you cannot contest in an election. Okay, contest in an election. So do we need to memorize all these things? Need not memorize. Okay, these are very much obvious. Okay, by looking into these features, we can easily identify that these can be the provisions to disqualify a person from contesting in an election. Okay, they are very obvious. Next, Representation of People Act provisions. So apart from constitutional provisions, there are some provisions which have been mentioned in the Representation of People Act. So guilty of election offences. So during election, if he is involved in some kind of unwanted things, then he can be disqualified. So if he has been convicted for 2 or more years, so this is very important. Conviction means a person, he has been involved in some kind of crime and he has got a punishment. If the punishment is for less than 2 years, then he can contest an election. But if the punishment is for more than 2 years, then he cannot contest in an election. How long he cannot contest in an election, that we shall see later on. Okay, for 6 years period after the sentence, he cannot contest in an election. But all these things in detail, they are not necessary. As and when these things appear as part of the current affairs, then they will become important. For time being, we shall just assume that a person who has been convicted in a particular case for more than 2 years, he cannot contest in an election. Okay, next, if he fails to lodge election expenses. Now after the elections, you have to file how much you have spent on the election and all. So if you do not disclose all those things, then also you can be disqualified. Next, if you are interested in government contracts. So these are these things, it's very difficult to verify. So government contracts, after becoming a member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, if you are interested to secure some government projects and all. So keeping those intention in mind, if you are trying to become MP or MP of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, then that will be harmful. Even in such cases, you are disqualified. But all these things, it is very difficult to verify whether he is interested or not. Next, no director or managing agent in which government has 25% share. For example, government has many companies. Okay, many companies. So let us assume Indian Oil Corporation. So it's a government company. In Indian Oil Corporation, government has more than 25% share. So person who is already a MD of Indian Oil Corporation, such a person where government has more than 25% share cannot contest in an election. Okay, in an election. Next, dismissed from government service. Now a person who is working in a government some service and he has been disqualified for one or the other reason, even such persons are ineligible to contest in an election. Next, convicted for promoting enmity. So if person has been given sentence by the court for promoting enmity, for hatred speeches and all, so such persons they are ineligible to contest. Offense of bribery. So if a person has been involved in some kind of offense of bribery, he cannot contest. Social crimes, untouchability, dowry, etc. If a person has been involved in any such kind of social crimes, then also he is ineligible to contest in an election. So these points, do we need to memorize? Okay, need not memorize. Okay, they are very much obvious. Okay, obvious. Here, very much important is 2 or more years of conviction. Okay, 2 or more years of conviction. So all other points are very much obvious. Okay, one more is a person who is working in government, not government, managing director in a company where government has more than 25% share. So even these 2 points are important here. Next, now who has the power to disqualify? So we have seen 2 different grounds. One is constitutional provisions, these provisions, and next, Representation of People Act provisions, so these provisions. So who has the power to disqualify them? President has the power. So president can take the decision in these matters. Okay, but president does not have the discretionary power. He cannot take the decision on his own. So what he will do? He will consult Election Commission and act accordingly. So he'll consult Election Commission of India. So what is Election Commission of India? It's a constitutional body. About that we'll be discussing in detail later. But he'll consult President will consult Election Commission of India. So whatever the opinion Election Commission of India will give to President, based upon that, President will act and he will disqualify the members. Okay, and will disqualify the members. Next, we have seen two different grounds of disqualification. One is constitutional ground, another one is grounds based on Representation of People Act provisions. We have another provision, that is defection ground. Defection ground disqualification. What is defection? A defection is where, I'll just take an example. A person belongs, let us assume, to BJP, and we have one more party, let us assume Congress. So a person who has been elected on BJP ticket, let us call person A, if he joins Congress after being elected. Similarly, if a person B who has been elected as either Lok Sabha member or Rajya Sabha member on Congress ticket, and after election, after winning, if he joins BJP, then this is called as defection. This is called as defection. So if a person is subjected to, if a person moves from one party to another party after being after gaining victory through ticket of one party, then he'll be subjected to disqualification. Okay, disqualification. So where these provisions are mentioned? These provisions are mentioned in 10th schedule. So initially when the constitution was framed, so we did not have this provision, but later on, because of the many defections that were taking place during the Rajiv Gandhi's prime ministership, they introduced a new provision in the constitution, that is 10th schedule. Okay, so this 10th schedule deals with defection, and whenever such kind of defections do take place, they will be subjected to disqualification. Okay, next, what are the various grounds to interpret the disqualification? If you voluntarily gives up the membership, for example, a person he gives up the membership of BJP or Congress and joins the other party, then it can be considered as a ground for disqualification. But if a person is forcefully made to resign or made to join some other party, then it will not be considered. So you should voluntarily give up the membership, then itself it will be subjected to disqualification. Okay, disqualification. Next, votes or abstains from voting, very important. Now in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, we go for voting. Okay, in order to take any kind of decision, we go for voting. So now let us assume, we shall consider the BJP itself as an example. So BJP, the High Command, it will give the instructions to its MPs that today a discussion will be going on in Lok Sabha. So you all should vote in favor. You all should vote in favor of that particular discussion. But if any member, if he does not act according to the directions of the High Command, and if he votes against this decision, then that is considered as defection. Votes or abstains from voting. So either he will vote against the High Command instructions, or the other thing is that he will remain absent. Even though the High Command has given the instruction to be present and vote in our favor, if he remains absent, then that can also be considered as ground for defection. Okay, defection. If an independently elected member, if he joins a political party, let us assume a person who has won on his own, he does not belong to any of the political parties, either BJP or Congress. But later on, that person, let us assume person C, if he joins either Congress or BJP, can he be subjected to defection? Yes, he can be subjected to defection law. Okay, even an independent person also, who if he joins any political party, then he will be subjected to defection. Next, can a nominated member be subjected to defection? Can a nominated member join a political party? Yes, here the things are a bit strange. So we have seen that, now for a time being, forget about Lok Sabha. In Rajya Sabha, we have 12 nominated members. So these 12 nominated members, so if any of the member, after being elected, so for first 6 months, in the initial 6 months, if he joins any party, either BJP or Congress or any other party, then he will not be subjected to defection. He will not be subjected to defection. But after 6 months, if he joins any political party, then he will be subjected to defection. So why they have introduced such kind of provisions? So we should not worry about it. But this is the provision that we need to know. Initial 6 months, if he joins any political party, he will not be subjected to defection. But after 6 months, if he is subjected to if he joins a political party, then he will be subjected to defection. Next, the very important. Now in the previous two cases, that is, in case of disqualification based on constitutional grounds and disqualification based on Representation of People Act. So who will take the ultimate decision? The ultimate decision will be taken by President, and before that President will consult Election Commission of India. But when it comes to disqualification based on the grounds of defection, who can take the ultimate decision? The decision will be taken either by chairman of Rajya Sabha in case of Rajya Sabha member and speaker of Lok Sabha in case of Lok Sabha members. So what is chairman of Rajya Sabha? What is speaker of Lok Sabha? So we will be discussing about them later on. But for time being, we shall understand that it is the chairman who will make the decision in Rajya Sabha and it is the speaker who will make the decision in the Lok Sabha. Okay. So whenever the disqualification is based on the grounds of defection. Okay. Next, very important concept, judicial review. Okay, judicial review. So later on we shall discuss about in detail about what is judicial review. Okay, for time being we need to understand that whether the decisions taken by the chairman or speaker, can they be subjected to judicial review? Yes, they are subjected to judicial review. It means we can go to either Supreme Court or High Court. Who can go? A person who has been disqualified if he is not satisfied with the decision of either chairman or speaker. So what he can do? He can file a case in Supreme Court or he can file a case in High Court. So after filing a case in High Court or Supreme Court, so Supreme Court or High Court will observe the things. So whether the decision has been taken properly or not. If the decision has been taken properly, then it will uphold the decision. If the decision has not been taken properly by either speaker or chairman, then the Supreme Court or High Court will rule against it. Okay, against it. So that taking this case to either Supreme Court or High Court or to the judiciary, and then they will verify whether the decision taken by chairman and speaker is correct or not. So that process we call it as judicial review. Judicial review. There are certain things which cannot be subjected to judicial review, but here the decision of chairman and the speaker, they can be subjected to judicial review. Very important. Okay, very important. Okay. So this was the first part of the video related to Parliament. Similarly, in the subsequent classes, we will be discussing about the other provisions of the topic called as Parliament. For all our further updates, subscribe to our channel and hit on the bell icon. Thank you.